Excellent, fantastic. Then we're going to go through individual breakouts for all the different groups, so we can learn what's happening, get our best practices. And then there's a skit. Pause for effect, important right there. So without ado, let's get into, I'd like to introduce the keynote speaker. Christine Robinson, 3-time contender for the World Championship of Public Speaking, a leader in every club position, a mentor to many. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome distinguished Toastmaster, Christine Robinson.
Thank you, Mark, for that lovely introduction. Of the 5 great things that have happened to me in my life, one of those top 5 is joining Toastmasters International. Even of the top 5, I would say of the top 3, Toastmasters and joining Toastmasters changed and revolutionized my life forever. Toastmasters took a shy, frightened, introverted, self-absorbed, recovering alcoholic and took her all the way to the woman that you see before you today. It was simply by using these basic texts of competent communicator and competent leader that tumbled this gem into the gem you see before you today. And I'm a work in progress. I got a long way to go. But that's what Toastmasters International can do for you. Toastmasters International, I say international deliberately because this is a global organization. This isn't a fly-by-night thing. This is something that was started in the 1930s when our country needed a lift. We were just coming out of the Depression. They didn't call it the Great Depression for nothing, okay? And they needed help. Our country needed help, and we needed organizations like Alcoholics Anonymous. We needed organizations like the Lions Club, and we needed organizations like Toastmasters International to build our self-esteem. Toastmasters International is involved in the self-esteem industry. We're under the guise of giving speeches, but bottom line, it's all about how we feel about ourselves walking through the greatest fear that humans have. Giving speeches, aside from dying, okay? So here we are all together, scared to bits, coming together daily, weekly, monthly to expand our speaking skills and to raise our self-esteem at the same time. Toastmasters is like a fabric. It has a warp and a woof. It has a coming and a going. So let me tell you how Toastmasters works. The first way I'm going to show you how Toastmasters works is through the competitions. It's the competitions. You have in January a club competition, okay? And if you have a club competition, that means that you got people coming in using their competent communicator leader manual for the speakers. And those who don't want to speak but want to participate, you got people signing on as in leadership roles during these competitions. Okay? So you have a competition, you have a club competition, and everybody's excited and going, and then one person wins out of that club competition. And then there's a whole bunch of other clubs that are having competitions, and one person wins, and one person wins, and then they all get together in something called an area contest. Oh, now we got an area contest, and somebody wins out of the area contest. Then we got a bunch of areas coming together in something called a division contest. And we're going to be in division what?
C.
C, okay. So someone wins the division C competition. And then you go from divisions into all the divisions come together, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we got all the letters there into a district conference. Here in a district conference, you got 300 people. It's massive. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. You got seminars. You got competitions. You got how to become a professional speaker. You got storytellers. You get to meet people from here to Pleasanton and back again. And they all come together in this great big party, celebration, and one person wins out of that. And then they go on into the World Championship of Public Speaking. But all this time, We are making friendships, we are networking, and we are building our clubs. Because that's what Toastmasters understood was going to build a club, is through friendly competition. It's in friendly competition. So you start out with your spring competition. It used to be called the serious speech competition. But they stopped calling it the serious speech competition because nobody wanted to win an award for being a serious speaker. Okay? I'm the most serious speaker you ever saw. I won first place. Nobody was going to go for that. But when they changed the title to World Championship of Public Speaking, 80,000 people showed up for that one last year. Okay? So 80,000 people comes down to 50 semifinalists, comes down to 10 finalists, comes down to one world champion of public speaking. That's how it works. And all the while that your individuals are growing and developing, so is your club. And we have something called a Distinguished Club Program. So that for every time somebody has an achievement, it's logged in to your club. So it's not just an individual thing. Everybody benefits when one person benefits. So the schemata of how a club is going to run is you're going to have your club meetings, organization going, things happening in January, area competition in February, division competition in March, district competition coming on in April, and then your whole club is going to drop off. Summertime, you presidents are going to go, where's my members? Your members are out having cocktail parties and barbecues and birthdays and 4th of July celebrations. Okay? That's where your club's meant. They're not abandoning you or anything like that. So that's when it's incumbent on the vice presidents of education to start pulling out the successful club series and the successful leadership series and all of the other wonderful manuals that are available in Toastmasters. And you start developing the ground again for the fall. And you have theme nights, and you have parties, and you have celebrations, and you have wonderful times during the summertime to keep the membership going, right? Okay, so that's how the competition goes. And then you have that downtime in the summer, but then it rebuilds again like we are right now in August. Going to build that club up again starting in September with what? A club competition. So you have your club competition again in September for the humorous speech competition. Then you have your area competition, then you have your division, and then your district, and then you have a big party. And then you go back to having Christmas. But do you understand how this goes now? It's kind of an up and down flow of how your membership is going to go. Then, now that's the warp of it, okay? Now we're going to go to the other part of the fabric, which is the woof. And you have here what I call the pillars of Toastmasters. Now someone made these for me because they knew how much I love Toastmasters. And they made them about the size of how much I love Toastmasters, okay? So I didn't want to bring any PowerPoint. I want us to be, warm and friendly here and not having me with some pointer like that. So here we are with our two pillars of Toastmasters. I'm going to teach this to you the way it was taught to me by Tevis Thompson. Distinguished Toastmaster Tevis Thompson was my best friend. He was my best enemy. He was my worst competition. He was my sponsor. He was everything. He was a wonderful man. And he stood about 6'7", and he always had these kind of rocky, kind of soled shoes, so he'd rock a lot. And he'd talk to you kind of like this, and he'd tell you the weather at 6'7" is sunny today. And then he'd go into how Toastmasters works. And he would start out with, okay, you got a newcomer coming in just like every one of us has come in, scared to bits, going to give their icebreaker speech, right? Okay, they're going to give their icebreaker, and they might give that next one project that's in the Competent Communicator Manual, which is called Organize Your Speech. So that means they've been to at least 2 meetings, right? So if they've been to 2 meetings, that means they might have looked over here into the leadership side of things and said, hey, I'm an English major, I'd be a good grammarian. Or I'm an A-type individual, I'd be a good timer. Or I'm incredibly critical, maybe I'd be a good evaluator. There's something for everybody in Toastmasters. So you go from a newcomer giving a couple speeches, then you're going to be a grammarian, and then you're going to maybe give a couple of other, objects, and then you got time for another couple more speeches. Then you give some more speeches. And then you like your club so much that you decide to sign on for 6 months as a club, officer. Oh, you get to be a sergeant at arms. Sergeant at arms, wonderful opportunity. You get to greet people at the door. You get that award-winning smile. You have them sign that guest book. Remember the guest book. And you have a membership packet, a welcome packet. Always greet your newcomer with food, drink, and a gimme. Just water is fine. That's what makes a successful club. Food, water, and a gimme. So you're gonna have all of that available as you are I'm just giving an example of what a sergeant at arms would do. And you can have that as a position. And then you start giving some more things, and you start doing more stuff. And as you weave this back and forth, eventually you will become a distinguished Toastmaster. And what I just gave you is exactly the footsteps I took to become a distinguished Toastmaster. You're interested in becoming one? I just gave you the plan. All you have to do is kind of weave yourself going back and forth into different roles, and you will find that eventually you will be a distinguished Toastmaster. So that's how it works, an overarching view. Now I'd like to go into the roles of the officers, okay? I've held all the roles except treasurer, because I don't want to fool with other people's money. It's hard enough working with my own. I don't want to work with somebody else's. But okay, as president, I've been twice president. If you have an agenda, forget it. If you think you're going to push something through, forget it. You have to be as transparent as possible. You can't really have an agenda and you get everybody's opinion. And if it takes a survey monkey, great. If it means meeting, and this is what I always did, I always had an officers meeting once a month. And I always had an officers meeting just before our meeting. I wasn't going to stretch my officers to try to meet outside of the pale of what they were already trying to do. We have to remember this is a volunteer organization, and you can't get nobody to do nothing in this program, okay? And those of you who are nodding your heads, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? You can't do it. It's like herding cats. Forget it. But you have to remember you're the top cat. So as president, that's number one. Number two is you always want to reward your members, so that if somebody gets their icebreaker, you give them a big fat pin, and you acknowledge them in front of everyone in the room. Back to that self-esteem thing. You give a pin for icebreaker. You give a pin for every time they have won anything. If it's a competent communicator manual, if it's a competent leader manual, every time you bring them up in front of everyone else, you shake their hand and you present them with this prize. And several things will happen when you start to do that as president. One, that person will return. And two, other people back in that friendly competition thing I was talking about, other people will say, well, gee, Anne Marie Clark got an award. I bet I could get one. And we kind of get into that. Well, okay, and then that brings people, and then that also brings ancillary people who want to see people achieve. Friends and family come. Oh, I want to see my daughter get that Competent Leader Award. And when you start gracing people in public, your club will be a healthy club. Another thing that I did as president is I always took in new ideas. If somebody had something that they were pushing on me, I'd take them in. Leaders listen. I thought leaders governed. I thought leaders told other people what to do. Actually, the more I told people what to do, the less likely they showed up. But the more open I became, the more global I could be, the healthier the club became. Then I was also Vice President of Education. I thought Vice President of Education was a lovely title, and I was attracted to it because it said education. I'm an education junkie. I love to learn everything. I'm a student of everything. So I thought that would be a wonderful place. Well, what I didn't know was that I was the keeper of all of these Better Speaker series and Successful Club series. I was the keeper of all of the manuals. I was the one who had to put on the parties. I was the one that bought the pins and so forth for our club. It was a big role, and I didn't realize what a treasure trove of wonderful manuals that we have. We have everything from how to be on television, how to mediate, how to work in the digital times. I mean, everything that you could possibly think of that you might want to be as a public speaker, we have. And they are available in all of these wonderful series. So if you've got a vice president of education, talk to him or her and say, hey, I'd like to get into mediation. I understand there's an actual project that I could do. Show me that. Okay? And one of the other things that I did as vice president of education is I always established a mentorship program. The mentorship program is found in the Successful Club series. And if you have a mentorship program, that's another way to build your club. Because you might have somebody on the fence who's saying, well, I don't know if I want to give speeches in front of a bunch of people I don't know. Well, then you come up to them and you say, well, we've got a mentorship program. We have a program that will coach a new member in their first 3 speeches. And if you want to become a distinguished Toastmaster, this is one of the requirements. So having that in your club will also assist your members to become distinguished Toastmasters so that they can accomplish the very goal that's here on our communication track. So I would come up to Margot Donator, I'd say, hey, we've got a mentorship program. Oh, really? What's that? I'd say, well, we're going to have somebody line you up with your speeches and show you how it works. Oh, really? And it's all for free. Oh, really? Then that was when the check came out. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? We don't do this alone. We are a very service-oriented organization. We always pay it back, just like Tevis Thompson paid my way when I couldn't pay my dues. Just like Tevis Thompson took the time to show me how this works so that I could come back and show you. It's always a river of flow of information and sharing. Then I was as the Vice President of Membership. Vice President of Membership, I always had full-on applications ready to go. I had it filled out with the division, the district, the area, the cost, what my club number was, so that all that person had to do was write the check and sign their name. Too many vice presidents of education or membership kind of sit around, oh, I just get to be vice president of membership. No, you don't. You should have at least 5 of those ready for your sergeant at arms. So when the sergeant at arms comes up to that new person, they've got a newcomer packet and a membership application already there. We're in the business of also making money for these clubs. That's one way you make the money. Vice presidents of membership, make sure you get a guest book for your club. Why? Because when you have all that information written in there, your vice president of membership is also going to ask the treasurer for some thank you cards. And that vice president of membership is going to send handwritten thank you cards to every single guest, and you will find they will come back. That was my experience. All it took was a box of cards and a little bit of postage. And I was able to get returning members by saying thank you. That's what we do a lot here in Toastmasters too. We say thank you quite a lot. And that's one of the things that you as the vice president of membership can do to build our organization. Your vice presidents of public relations. We have wonderful magazines and local periodicals, newspapers like the Pacific Sun, the Marin Scope, and those kinds of things. But have you gone to the old folks' homes? Have you gone to the retirement centers? All of these wonderful people with lots of information through the years and nowhere to talk. Why don't you bring them into your Toastmasters meetings? How about just a little marketing here or there, some boards up in the local colleges? People want an opportunity to speak, and we can provide that opportunity. Those are the offices that I have held on secretary and then also sergeant at arms. I love being sergeant at arms. It was great. I did enjoy meeting people, handing things to them, showing them where to go, have a seat, have something to drink, being service oriented. And as a secretary, I took incredible notes, and I always sent them out to the membership after the officers' meetings, so that the whole membership knew exactly what the officers were discussing. So again, it would be completely transparent for the club. So everybody knew what everybody was doing. in the end, you know, what I learned as a leader is something that I learned from my mother. When I was a little kid, I used to play a lot in my mother's desk. And I was always enchanted with the little erasers that smelled like perfume. And she had this gold ruler in her desk. And it was inscribed, "A leader, not a ruler. Vote Barry Goldwater." I was flanked by 2 elephants. And as a little girl, I went up to my mommy. I said, "Mommy, but this ruler is telling me it's not a ruler." And I'm learning words. A ruler, not a ruler. What does it mean? So my mother said to me, the difference between a leader and a ruler is a ruler dictates, but a leader listens. And you will find as leaders that you will be listening exquisitely. You will have opportunities to take a wide variety of people in and show them the same courtesy as you've shown me this evening. That same attentiveness, that same love of this program. I would open the floor now to answer any questions you might have concerning Toastmasters, concerning your roles, or whatever's on your mind. So I'm going to open the floor now and see if there's any questions. Yes?
When I go to the website, TI website, and enter the word mediation to find the material, because I haven't seen a lot of it.
Yeah, you would find it there.
Okay.
Yeah, and if not, I have a copy.
Oh, okay.
I've used it quite a lot, and it's a great. Yes?
When you were VP of Education, how did you use the Better Speaker series?
They had wonderful things in there. The one I liked a lot was the evaluation, the one on evaluation. It's a wonderful module. They're called modules, and you'll find it, I believe, in the Successful Club series. And I'm sorry, but you were looking for the...
Exactly how you used it. I mean, did you promote it or did...
What it looks like... I'm not giving a free speech either. My module is how to give a distinguished club. I see that my light is on, but I hope it's okay to have some question and answer. Is that okay? Do we have time? Okay. So the modules look just like this. Every single one of them is not too thick, just a few pages. And it will give the project just like every other project in our regular manuals. It'll tell you what to do. And then it will take 20 minutes probably, 15 to 20 minutes for each module. So you'll have to sign up, you know, on your board to make sure that you have that time. You know, it doesn't take into other speakers or that kind of thing. Or make it an evening if you're the Vice President of Education. Hey, we're going to have a whole evaluation night, you know. Make it a party. And then you'll have someone fill it out, just like you do in a regular project. But there's wonderful ones there to develop not only, you know, the club, but as you're saying, you know, different parts of the club. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
And Evaluate to Motivate is free from the TI website. You can buy it as a manual, but you can also download it for free, and then you can just print the evaluation page for your evaluator.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did for our friend, my evaluator. I'm keeping him anonymous.
But free is worth mentioning.
Yeah, free is worth mentioning. One last thing I did want to share just real quick. Everything is possible to achieve, and I know that they're long on trying to get this Distinguished Club program going. But if you just have a regular club, you can achieve all four, at least 4 of these, right off the bat, if you just run your club right. One of them is that you send in your dues on time. One of them is that you have your trainers trained. You have to have a couple of competent communicator manuals and 1 competent leader manual. But as you heard me speak just a while ago, just staying involved with our competitions, you'll have those manuals, and the rest is just housekeeping. So I really encourage you to stay on point with Toastmasters. Stay on point with our program. No free speeches. Nothing is free here. Everything should count. So get into that groove, and we'll see you on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christine Ann Robinson. Let's give it up. What an honor.